My name is Madeline Hayes, and I'm 32 years old. Until 2 weeks ago, I thought I understood the direction of my life. I had a stable career as a software engineer, an apartment I loved, and a boyfriend I had been with for 4 years. Daniel Carter was 29, charming when he wanted to be thoughtful in quiet ways, and just complicated enough to make me believe our difficult moments meant we were building something real. We had lived together for 2 years. For the past 6 months, I had also been quietly putting money aside for an engagement ring. Not one for me, one for him. Daniel had once joked that he would never be brave enough to propose first, so I had started imagining doing it myself. Nothing extravagant. Maybe during the hiking trip, we took every autumn somewhere overlooking the valley, where we had first said we loved each other. I had already looked at rings. I had already pictured his face. Then, last Monday, while I was finishing a brutal work deadline, Daniel sent me a message. "We need to talk tonight." 4 ordinary words. But anyone who has ever received them from someone they love knows they are never ordinary. I ordered Indian food on the way home because I had promised myself I would celebrate finishing the project. By the time Daniel sat across from me at the kitchen counter, the apartment smelled of curry, garlic, and something I would later associate with the exact moment my future changed. He barely touched his food. "Madeline, I love you," he began. My hand stopped around my fork. But he rubbed the edge of his watch, a nervous habit he had developed whenever he was trying to make something sound less terrible than it was. "I feel stuck." The words landed quietly. That almost made them worse. "What does that mean?" "I don't know who I am outside of us anymore," he said. "We've been together for 4 years. We live together. Everyone assumes marriage is next." I stared at him. Marriage was next. At least I had believed it was. "I need to make sure I'm choosing this because it's what I want," he continued, "not because it's comfortable." Comfortable? I had spent 4 years believing I was loved, only to discover I might have become furniture. "All right," I said carefully. "What are you asking for?" He took a breath. "I think we should try an open relationship." For a second, I thought I had misunderstood him. "You want to date other people." "We would both date other people," he corrected quickly. "But we'd stay committed to each other. We'd still be the primary relationship." Primary. It's modern, Maddie. Healthy couples do this. My therapist said exploring might help me understand what I really want. His therapist. Daniel had started therapy several months earlier because he said he was struggling with his identity and career direction. I had encouraged him. I had never imagined those sessions would somehow result in him asking permission to sleep with other women. "So you want freedom," I said, "but you also want me waiting here, in case freedom disappoints you." His expression tightened. "That isn't fair." "It sounds accurate. You're making it ugly when it doesn't have to be." I looked at the man I had planned to marry. He looked nervous, but underneath the nervousness was something else. Anticipation. That was when I understood. This was not an idea he had invented over dinner. There was already someone. I didn't know her name yet, but I could feel her, sitting invisibly between us. "And if I say no?" I asked. Daniel looked down at his food. "Then maybe we need to admit we want different things." There it was. The threat disguised as honesty. He wanted me to believe I had a choice, but he had already decided the acceptable answer. I took a slow drink of water. Then I smiled. "You're right." His head lifted. "What?" "We should do it." The relief on his face came so quickly that something inside me went cold. "Really?" "Absolutely. Open relationship. We both date whoever we want. When do we start?" He blinked, suddenly less prepared. "I thought we could ease into it. Dating apps." "Yeah. That seems reasonable." "Perfect. I'll make a profile tonight." He leaned over and kissed my cheek. "I knew you'd understand. This could make us stronger." I smiled again, though I no longer believed that. That evening, Daniel created profiles on 3 dating apps while sitting beside me on the couch. He asked me which pictures made him look confident but approachable. I chose one from a wedding where he wore a navy suit and another from our trip to Colorado. "You're being surprisingly calm," he said. "This was your idea." "I know. I just thought you might need time. I've had 4 years to learn how you make decisions." He laughed because he thought I was teasing him. I wasn't. Daniel went to bed, looking happier than he had in months. I stayed awake. The apartment was silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator and the soft clicking of my phone as I built my own profile. I chose recent photographs. No filters. No misleading angles. Then, I wrote the truth. 32-year-old software engineer. Recently entered an open relationship after 4 years because my partner wanted to explore. Looking for honesty conversation and whatever feels real. I love hiking craft cocktails, rescue dogs, and people who know what they want. I stared at the final sentence before posting it. People who know what they want. By morning, I had 11 matches. By Wednesday afternoon, I had more than 30. Daniel texted me while I was working from home. Getting coffee with someone after work. Don't wait up. I replied with one word. Enjoy. He did not know I had plans too. One of my matches was Ethan Brooks, a 30-year-old architect with an easy smile and a habit of asking questions that made me feel as though he was actually listening to the answers. We met for dinner at a small tapas restaurant downtown, the same restaurant Daniel and I had talked about trying for months. I expected the date to be awkward. Instead, Ethan made me laugh so hard I nearly knocked over my drink. He did not spend the evening trying to impress me. He told me about the first building he designed, which leaked during its opening week, and how his mother still introduced him as the architect who forgot about rain. When I explained my relationship situation, he did not judge me. He only said, "That sounds emotionally complicated." It is. Are you sure this is what you want? No one had asked me that. Not even Daniel. I'm beginning to think it might be what I need. Daniel came home close to 11 that night, smiling at his phone. Good date, I asked from the couch. Amazing. Her name is Sophia. She works in marketing at my company. We've known each other for a while. There it was. The invisible woman finally had a name. Sophia, I repeated. So this wasn't your first time spending time together. His smile faded slightly. We've had lunch before, just as coworkers. Of course. He sat beside me. What did you do tonight? Went to dinner. His eyes moved toward me. With who? Ethan. He's an architect. You already met someone. I looked at him. We agreed to this on Monday. Yeah, but that was fast. So was coffee with Sophia. That's different. I already knew her. Exactly, I thought. But I only said the restaurant was good. You should take her there next time. Daniel stared at me for a moment, before standing. I'm tired. He went to bed without kissing me goodnight. The following morning, he sat at the kitchen table swiping through profiles with aggressive concentration. How many matches do you have? I asked. About 20. That's good. He glanced at me. What about you? I stopped counting after 50. His thumb froze over the screen. 50. Maybe a little more. In 3 days. I poured myself coffee. A few of them seem interesting. How many are you talking to? 6 or 7? Daniel set down his phone. Isn't that excessive? I looked at him over the rim of my mug. I thought we were exploring. He had no answer. For the first time since asking to open our relationship, Daniel looked afraid. Not because he was losing me. Not yet. He was afraid because he had finally realized other men might see value in the woman he had treated like a guarantee. And the part he still did not understand was that I was beginning to see it too. The change was so gradual that I almost missed it. At first, Daniel acted exactly the way I imagined someone would after getting everything they wanted. He hummed while making coffee. He smiled whenever his phone lit up. He spent extra time choosing shirts before work. Every notification from Sophia seemed to add another inch to his confidence. Meanwhile, I simply went back to living my life. Thursday evening, Ethan and I met for coffee after work. Unlike our first date, there wasn't the nervousness of introducing ourselves. Instead, the conversation picked up exactly where we'd left off. He told me about restoring old houses. I admitted that I secretly judged people by how they treated waiters. He laughed. So, your boyfriend really suggested this? He did. And you're okay? I don't know if okay is the right word. What is? I looked out the cafe window. I think I'm finally seeing my relationship clearly. He didn't push. That alone felt refreshing. Daniel came home nearly an hour later than I did. He loosened his tie and casually asked, "How was your evening?" "Good. What'd you do?" "Coffee. With Ethan." "Yeah." He nodded. "Nice." But he asked 3 more questions before going to bed. "Where? How long? Did he drive you home?" They sounded casual. They weren't. Friday morning, Daniel was glued to his phone during breakfast. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Just checking messages." "From Sophia." He smiled. "Maybe." I buttered a piece of toast. "She seems nice." He looked pleased. "She really is." Silence settled between us. Then he looked up. "So, how many matches are you at now?" I shrugged. "I haven't checked." "You don't know." I turned the notifications off. His eyebrows rose. "I thought you'd be excited." I wasn't looking for validation. His expression flickered. He had expected me to become addicted to attention. Instead, I was becoming selective. That somehow bothered him more. Saturday morning, Ethan suggested we visit the local farmers market. I almost laughed. Daniel and I had made that market our tradition. Every Saturday. Same coffee stand. Same bakery. Same old couple selling homemade jam. I wondered whether going would feel strange. It didn't. It felt new. Ethan stopped at nearly every stall. He somehow convinced me to sample lavender, honey-smoked cheddar, spicy peach jam, and homemade apple butter before we'd even reached the vegetables. "You buy food based entirely on enthusiasm, don't you?" I asked. "Guilty." "And your refrigerator." An archaeological dig. I laughed harder than I had in months. Someone passing by offered to take our picture. Neither of us thought much about it. The photo showed us laughing while balancing 2 coffees and 3 bags of produce. Later that afternoon, Ethan posted it on Instagram. "Fun morning. Nothing romantic, nothing dramatic, just 2 people smiling." Within 20 minutes, Daniel called. Once, twice, 3 times. 6 missed calls. Then the text started. "Who is that? Why are you posting pictures together? People are asking questions. Call me." I looked at my phone, then slipped it back into my purse. I was on a date. He could wait. When I got home, Daniel was sitting on the couch with his laptop open. Instead of saying hello, he said. I looked him up. I set my grocery bags on the counter. "You did what, Ethan?" His screen was filled with search results. "Architect." "I know." "Master's degree." "I know." "He volunteers restoring historic buildings." "I know." "He runs marathons." I nodded. "I know." Daniel closed the laptop. He stopped himself. "What?" "Nothing." I waited. Finally he sighed. "He's accomplished. So are you." "He makes more than me." "I don't know that." "He probably does." "Danielle." "What?" "This isn't a competition." He looked away. It already was. Sunday afternoon, he wandered into the living room while I answered messages. "Talking to Ethan." "No." "Who?" "Someone named Michael." "You still have other matches?" "Of course." I thought Ethan. I never said I was exclusive. He became oddly quiet. "So, how many dates have you actually been on?" I counted. Dinner with Ethan. Coffee. Brunch. Movie planned Tuesday. His face changed. "Four? What about you?" He hesitated. "I've seen Sophia twice, and we're just getting to know each other." "That's great." "You don't seem jealous." I smiled gently. "Should I be?" He didn't answer, because the truth was becoming impossible to ignore. He wanted me interested. He hadn't wanted me desired. Monday brought another surprise. One of the dating apps introduced a review feature. Apparently, after meeting someone, both people could leave brief comments visible to future matches. Curious, I opened mine. There were already 4. Exactly like her photos. Thoughtful, intelligent, easy conversation. Would absolutely meet again. The guy who suggested opening their relationship seriously underestimated her. I laughed out loud. Daniel looked up from across the room. "What?" "Nothing." "What is it?" I handed him my phone. He read the reviews. His jaw tightened. Then, he quietly handed it back. That evening, while brushing our teeth, he asked, "Can everyone see those?" "My matches can. They make you look." He searched for the word. "Popular, I suppose." He stared into the bathroom mirror. "You know what's funny?" "What?" "I honestly thought dating would be harder for you." I rinsed my toothbrush. "Why?" "You don't really like parties." "I don't." "You don't flirt." "I don't have to." He frowned. "What does that mean?" I leaned against the sink. "The men I'm meeting actually want to know me." Silence. Heavy silence. Then he quietly walked out of the bathroom. Tuesday evening, Ethan invited me to help choose a rescue dog for his sister, who volunteered at a local shelter. The moment we walked inside, a 70-pound pit mix launched himself directly into my lap, as if we had known each other forever. Ethan laughed so hard he nearly dropped the leash. "I think you've been chosen." The dog's name was Max. He believed every human existed solely to pet him. I spent nearly an hour rolling tennis balls across the shelter floor, while Max followed me like an oversized toddler. Someone recorded a short video. Later that evening, Ethan uploaded it. Caption: "Some dogs adopt their humans first." By bedtime, the video had thousands of views. Max climbing onto my lap, me laughing uncontrollably. Comments flooded in. Even Daniel watched it twice. I noticed because he replayed the same 20 seconds over and over. "You seem happy," he finally said. "I am." He nodded slowly. Then, almost too quietly to hear, he asked, "Have you ever laughed like that with me?" I looked at him. The answer wasn't no. The answer was, not recently, and both of us knew why. Wednesday night, Daniel came home much earlier than usual. He wasn't smiling anymore. He wasn't humming. He wasn't talking about Sophia. Instead, he stood awkwardly in the kitchen while I prepared dinner. Finally, he cleared his throat. "Madeline." "Yeah, I've been thinking." I turned off the stove. "So have I." He took a long breath. "I don't think this open relationship is working." There it was. The sentence I had known was coming. Only 2 weeks earlier, he had spoken about freedom, growth, self-discovery. Now, those words had disappeared. "What changed?" I asked softly. Daniel looked directly into my eyes. "I think," he whispered, "I want us to close the relationship." I didn't answer immediately, because by then, something inside me had already begun closing on its own. Daniel's words hung in the kitchen long after he finished speaking. "I think," he repeated quietly, "I want us to close the relationship." I studied his face. 2 weeks. That was all it had taken. 2 weeks to dismantle something he had claimed was necessary for his personal growth. I folded the dish towel in my hands before answering. "Why?" He looked almost relieved that I hadn't immediately said no. "Because this isn't what I thought it would be." "What did you think it would be?" He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Finally, he admitted something that changed everything. "I thought you'd have a couple of awkward dates." I didn't interrupt. "I thought you'd realize dating sucks." Still silent. "I thought." He rubbed the back of his neck. "You'd remember what we had and come back appreciating us more." "And you?" "I figured I'd meet a few people, satisfy my curiosity, and then we'd both know we belonged together." I couldn't help it. I laughed. Not cruelly, just in disbelief. So the entire experiment depended on me failing. No, it depended on me waiting. His shoulders sagged. "Madeline, you expected me to stay exactly where you left me. I never wanted to lose you." "No." I met his eyes. "You just wanted permission to look for someone better." The kitchen fell silent. He couldn't deny it, because it was true. After nearly a minute, he whispered, "There is something I haven't told you." I already knew, but I wanted to hear him say it. "Sophia." He looked down. I'd started wondering about her months ago. Months. The word echoed through my chest. Months while I had been comparing engagement rings. Months while he kissed me goodbye every morning. Months while he let me imagine a future he had already begun questioning. "We worked together," he said quietly. "We had lunch sometimes. She laughed at my jokes. She understood my projects." I kept thinking, maybe there was something there. So instead of ending our relationship, I didn't want to cheat. You wanted my permission. I thought exploring honestly was better. I nodded slowly. At least that's true. He looked hopeful. I was trying to do the right thing. No. I shook my head. You were trying to avoid feeling guilty. His face fell. You wanted both options. Madeline. You wanted to see if Sophia might be better while keeping me safely at home. I never meant to hurt you. But you planned for me to hurt. He had no answer. Because there wasn't one. The next evening, Ethan called. I've got good news. What happened? The shelter approved my adoption application. For Max. I smiled. Congratulations. They asked if I'd like to bring someone when I pick him up. There was a brief pause. I'd like that. I'd like that too. It was such a simple conversation. No games. No manipulation. No one asking permission to keep looking elsewhere. Just two people deciding they enjoyed each other's company. When I hung up, Daniel was standing in the hallway. You seem happy. I am. Was that Ethan? Yes. His jaw tightened. You really like him. I do. You've only known him 2 weeks. I looked at Daniel. I've known Respect even less time than that. Saturday morning, we drove together to the animal shelter. Max recognized us immediately. The 70-pound pit mix launched himself into my arms with absolutely no concern for physics. I think he remembers you, Ethan laughed. I think he believes he's a lapdog. He definitely does. Watching Ethan kneel on the floor, scratching Max behind the ears, I noticed something unexpected. Peace. There was no performance. No pretending. No carefully chosen words designed to protect someone's ego. Just kindness. When we left, Max rode happily in the back seat with his head between us. Someone walking through the parking lot smiled. Beautiful family. Neither of us corrected them. We simply smiled back. That evening, Daniel was waiting in the apartment. He looked exhausted. Dark circles had formed beneath his eyes. I need to ask you something. Okay. Are you falling for him? I considered lying. Instead, I answered honestly, I think I'm starting to. He closed his eyes. So that's it? No. It isn't. This isn't about Ethan. Then what is it? I walked toward the living room window. This ended the night you asked me to compete against strangers for a place in my own relationship. His voice cracked. I made a mistake. You made a decision. I can fix it. You can't. I'll stop seeing Sophia. I believe you. I'll delete every app. I believe you. I'll go back to therapy. I hope you do. He stared at me. Then why? I turned toward him. Because none of those things erase what you were willing to risk. He began crying. Real tears. The kind I'd rarely seen from him. I love you. I know. Please. I reached into my pocket. Pulled out my phone. Opened the dating apps. One, Bewan. I deleted them. Daniel's shoulders relaxed. Hope returned to his face. I'll delete mine too, he said quickly. We'll start over. I locked my phone. I'm done with dating apps. He nodded eagerly. Good. But not because we're getting back together. His smile disappeared. What? Ethan and I talked yesterday. Silence. We both want something exclusive. He blinked several times. I don't understand. I'm dating Ethan. His face lost all color. But I'm not interested in an open relationship anymore. But we're together. I looked at him with more sadness than anger. No. We have 4 years. We had 4 years. You can't throw that away. I didn't. You did. He took 2 desperate steps toward me. This was supposed to make us stronger. It made me see us clearly. He grabbed the back of a chair to steady himself. I thought, I know what you thought. You were supposed to fight for us. I spent 6 months fighting. He frowned. What do you mean? I noticed you pulling away. His eyes widened. I noticed you smiling at your phone. He swallowed. I noticed you mentioning Sophia constantly. His breathing slowed. I thought work was stressing you. I smiled, sadly. So I loved you harder. Tears rolled down his cheeks. I bought tickets for weekend trips. I remember. I cooked your favorite meals. I remember. I started saving for an engagement ring. His entire body froze. What? I nodded. I was going to propose this fall. His knees nearly gave out. You. I thought we were building a future. He covered his mouth. Oh my God. I had already picked the ring. He sank onto the couch. Neither of us spoke for nearly a minute. Finally, he whispered, I destroyed everything. I didn't answer, because for the first time, he had finally said something completely true. The following morning, my phone rang. Madeline, a woman's voice. Yes, this is Emily, Daniel's older sister. I heard what happened. I'm sure you did. He made a terrible mistake. He did, but he loves you. I don't doubt that. So why won't you forgive him? I looked around the apartment. Every room held memories. Every memory now carried a second version beside it. One where Daniel had already been wondering whether another woman might make him happier. Emily, I said gently, your brother didn't lose me because he asked for an open relationship. Then why? He lost me because he had already opened his heart to someone else before he ever asked. Emily said nothing. Neither could argue with the truth. Emily never called back. I doubted there was anything left to say after that conversation. The truth has a strange quality. It doesn't always end an argument. Sometimes it simply leaves people without another lie to defend. Daniel, however, wasn't ready to accept the truth. If anything, he became more determined. The following Monday, I came home from work to find the apartment looking completely different. My books had been stacked neatly into boxes. The framed photos from our vacations were sitting face down on the dining table. Half my clothes had been folded into laundry baskets. For one surreal second, I wondered if I'd walked into the wrong apartment. Daniel appeared from the bedroom. I thought we could have a fresh start. I slowly set my purse down. A fresh start. I rearranged everything. I can see that. If we change the space, he said hopefully, maybe it'll help us move past everything. I looked around the room. This isn't a fresh start. What is it? It's denial. His smile disappeared. I've already told you my decision. You'll change your mind. I won't. You don't mean that. I do. He looked almost offended that I sounded so calm. Perhaps he had expected anger, tears, some dramatic fight that proved I still loved him enough to battle. Instead, I simply felt tired. I think you should find another place to live, I said quietly. His eyes widened. What? The lease is under my name. You can't be serious. I am. I've lived here for 2 years, and I paid most of the rent. You'd actually throw me out. I'm asking you to move out. His face reddened. So that's it? No. I took a slow breath. That happened the night you asked permission to see whether another woman might make you happier. He stared at me in complete disbelief. Then he walked out, slamming the bedroom door hard enough to shake the picture frames. By Tuesday morning, his strategy had changed. Instead of anger, he tried nostalgia. When I came home, the apartment smelled like homemade lasagna. My favorite. The candles from our first anniversary dinner sat in the middle of the table. Soft jazz played from the speaker in the corner. Daniel even wore the blue sweater I had once told him, made his eyes look brighter. I thought we could have dinner. I stood in the doorway. You cooked. I remembered your favorite recipe. I noticed. We don't have to talk about Ethan. I wasn't planning to. He pulled out my chair. For one night. Can we just be us? I looked at the table, then at him. I don't think we're us anymore. His shoulders fell. You don't even want dinner. I appreciate the effort. But it came 6 months too late. The words hit him harder than shouting ever could have. He sat alone at the table, while I quietly carried my overnight bag into the guest room. That night, for the first time in 4 years, we slept in separate rooms. Meanwhile, my relationship with Ethan continued exactly the opposite way. No ground promises. No rushing, just honesty. One Saturday morning, we took Max to a lakeside trail. The enormous dog insisted on greeting every person, every squirrel, and at least 3 ducks. You realize he's convinced the world exists to admire him, I laughed. Ethan smiled. He might be right. Max suddenly flopped into the grass, refusing to continue walking. He's protesting. No. Ethan crouched beside him. He's demanding belly rubs. For nearly 5 minutes we laughed, while strangers walked past smiling at the ridiculous 70-pound dog rolling upside down in the middle of the path. One elderly woman stopped. You two have wonderful energy together. Ethan looked toward me. So does he. He scratched Max's ears. The woman smiled, knowingly. No, she said softly. I wasn't talking about the dog. Daniel noticed the difference. Not because I told him. Because I smiled again. I laughed again. I wasn't walking on eggshells anymore. That hurt him more than any argument. Wednesday evening, he knocked gently on my guest room door. Can we talk? I nodded. He stepped inside. I ended things with Sophia. I figured you would. She wasn't interested. I remained silent. He laughed bitterly. Turns out, he shook his head. I imagined a lot of things. What happened? We had dinner, and she told me she'd always thought of me as a friend. He looked embarrassed. She said she'd been seeing someone for months. I blinked. So, I built this entire fantasy in my head. He laughed once, only this time there wasn't any humor in it. I risked everything. For someone who never wanted me. Neither of us spoke. Finally, he whispered, I deserve that. I didn't answer. Because consequences didn't require my permission. 2 days later, something happened that confirmed I had made the right decision. My phone rang during lunch. It was Ethan. Hey. His voice sounded unusually tense. Is everything okay? There was an awkward situation. What happened? A man came to my office. My stomach tightened. What man? He told reception he was your cousin. And there was a family emergency. I closed my eyes. Danielle. I'm guessing. Yes. What exactly did he say? Ethan sighed. He wanted me to step away from you. I leaned back in my chair. I'm so sorry. He said you were confused. I rubbed my forehead. He said we had 4 years together. I'm sorry. He also said, you'd eventually realize you still loved him. I felt sick. What did you tell him? Ethan chuckled softly. I asked him one question. What? If she wanted to be with you, why is she here with me? I couldn't help smiling. And he didn't have an answer. Security escorted Daniel out a few minutes later. When I confronted him that evening, he looked ashamed. I just needed him to understand. No, I said quietly. You needed to accept what you refused to hear from me. I wasn't trying to scare him. You were trying to undo your own decision. He looked away. I know. I've started documenting everything. His head snapped toward me. You what? The texts. The voicemails. The visit to Ethan's office. I'm not trying to get you into trouble. I'm protecting my peace. For the first time, he truly looked frightened. Not of me. Of what he had become. By the end of the month, Daniel had found a small apartment across town. It was significantly more expensive than he expected. His parents came to help him move. His father barely looked at me. His mother, however, stopped beside the moving truck. I wish things had ended differently. So do I. He really loved you. I know. She hesitated. But love isn't enough when someone keeps looking over the fence. Tears filled her eyes. I suppose you're right. She hugged me. Unexpectedly. Then, climbed into the truck. Daniel carried the last box to his car. Before closing the trunk, he turned toward me. I loved you. The words sounded sincere. Painfully sincere. I loved you too. He smiled weakly. So, there isn't another chance. I looked at the apartment we had once called home. Then at the man I had once imagined marrying. I'll always be grateful for the years when we were truly happy. He nodded slowly. But I deserve someone who never needs to lose me before realizing my value. A tear rolled down his cheek. I understand. For the first time, I believed he actually did. He got into his car, drove away, and this time, he didn't look back. 3 weeks have passed since then. Daniel sent a few messages at first. Dating isn't what I expected. My rent is impossible. Sophia got engaged to the man she'd already been seeing. One message simply read, that could have been us. I looked at it for several seconds. then replied, "No, it couldn't, because the man I wanted to marry would have never asked me to compete for a place in his heart." After sending that message, I blocked his number. Life has been remarkably peaceful ever since. Ethan and I are taking things slowly. My family has met him. They adore him. Max has somehow claimed both of our couches as his personal kingdom and still believes he's a lapdog despite weighing 70 pounds. Sometimes mutual friends tell me Daniel still says opening the relationship was the biggest mistake of his life. I believe him, not because he lost me, but because he finally realized something far more important. The people who truly love you are never prizes waiting on a shelf while you search for someone better. They are gifts, and once you gamble them away, you may spend the rest of your life discovering that what you were chasing never actually existed.